So 98% of people that read self-improvement and business books are trapped in this cycle of endless consumption without taking action. I know it feels good to read books and feel smarter because you are learning, right? But the truth is this, you're only fooling yourself and you know it. And for many years I've been in that place. So that's why in today's video I'm going to share the big mistakes that I did in my journey to reading books that really prevented me from achieving success. And number two, how to truly shift into taking action from the books you're reading so that you stop this constant cycle of reading books for the sake of reading it. If you're remotely serious about getting results, you want to pay close attention to this video until the end and actually apply the stuff. Otherwise, this will just be another video on your consumption list. Ever since I was a kid, I loved learning. I was always a very curious child, and this trait will follow me in the later years until today. So from a young age, I always valued knowledge, acquiring knowledge, reading, questioning things. However, that changed when I became a teenager. As a teenager, I stopped reading books because my mind was more occupied with entertainment, especially video games. And also, I tried to fit in. It was much more important for me at that stage to fit in, to try to be cool, to follow trends. So for many years, I kind of forgot that side of me that wanted to read books and had this thirst for knowledge. However, I was still curious, but curious in other things. So in my early 20s, somehow I found out a way to read books again. I think the main reason, if I look back, was I was stuck in my career. I wanted to make more money, I wanted to advance my career and do stuff that fulfills me. And I knew somehow I kinda was lacking the knowledge. So I got deeper into my self-improvement journey. I read the classic books like Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and I was really absorbing the information. I felt productive, but this was the first trap that I fell to, because for many years I didn't apply much of the knowledge. I had a lot of theoretical knowledge. I knew like how to do some certain things. To be honest, I didn't really knew how to do those things. I thought I knew them. In my opinion, you can only know things if you really applied it. That's what gives you the experience and the depth of knowledge. And the interesting thing is, some of those books that I was reading actually called me out indirectly. They were always saying, take action, massive action. I read books about Tony Robbins, like you have to take massive action, but I was not doing enough because I was more a consumer than a practitioner. The first huge mistake that I was making that really prevented me from getting results was overwhelming myself with books. I bought every book, psychology books, self-improvement books, online business books. I read them all, but my mind was so scattered with so many different ideas and ideologies. And although I was reading many books and I felt smart, I really didn't know anything. Because I had these conflicting ideologies, I could barely explain the things that I was learning to a stranger. That's when I slowly realized the trap that I was in. The second huge mistake that I did was only reading the popular books. I read almost all of the books that were on top of the list in self-improvement, online business, and so on. Maybe you can relate to this. Now, I'm not saying that the popular books are bad. However, you want to understand the foundational books in any field. If you really want to acquire knowledge, in my experience, you have to find the foundational books, because the most popular books, or the books that are red hot right now, are based on some foundational books, and you want to identify them. Because if I could personally go back in time, I would systematically research the key books that are built upon and I would read those first, and then I would absorb them more. Because in our case here, in self-improvement, a lot of books are rehashed ideas. And most of the books, even the good ones, could be just a long blog post. So that's why there's a lot of fluff in it. Also, a really powerful hack is to read the books that the people that you want to become are reading. If you want to acquire deep knowledge in a field in an effective and efficient manner, ask your mentors for the foundational books. And if you can't ask them and they are out of reach, there are so many resources online. You'll find the books that they found most influential. Because most of the time, these are not the popular and trendy books right now. Talking about foundational books, in any given field, there are only a few foundational books. So for example, my interest was self-improvement, psychology, and online business. These were my main interests in the last years. So I asked myself, what are the few books that will give me basic knowledge that I can build upon it? And then one principle that really helped me is the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule states that 20% of your actions, your efforts, produce 80% of your results. And the same applies to books. If you see books through that lens of the 80-20 principle, you will identify the few books that produce 80% of the results. Because most of the time, 80% of the information is enough. In my opinion, you are already ahead of 99% of the people. because most people don't have mastered the basics. So you only need a few books to really get massive result. After that, after you have experienced some success, then you can go advanced. But again, if you have 80% of the basics mastered, you still have to go and take action. The real learning happens in the real world. That's where you get context, where you get different perspectives and experience and deep knowledge. So don't fall into this trap. I talk from experience. This is the major problem of everyone in self-improvement. I see them consuming stuff, watching videos and having bookshelves, beautiful bookshelves. You see YouTubers, a huge bookshelf. I read this book. I'm not judging them. They are doing a good job because you have to give awareness to some books. But sometimes it gives you a false impression that you have to read more. Remember the 80-20 rule. By the way, if you're finding this video valuable so far, let me know in the comment section below. Now, so far, I've talked a lot about how you should go about reading books to acquire deep knowledge for implementation. Now we are talking about how to truly shift from consumer to producer, from mindlessly reading books to taking action. Now, one key belief you have to install when it comes to this is I know enough. You have read enough books or consumed enough information to start something. And to be honest, I think most people kind of know that they have enough to start. But what's stopping them is what is called learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is a psychological term that describes our inability to take action because we think we have no control. Because nowadays there is a lot of information going at us. There is also called information overload. So when we are bombarded with so much information and things to do, we get like paralyzed. And this is what keeps most people stuck. That's why you can probably relate to this. You have all the information, all the books, but you still find it very hard to implement. And you ask yourself, how do I even start? That happens based on my experience because you have read too much stuff. You have been 2 to 3 hours reading books, online courses or anything, videos, and then you are paralyzed. You are like, okay, how do I start this online business? Okay, how do I create a website? And you already know this, but because you consume too much, you don't get into action. And the biggest thing that I have implemented to combat this is the 80% action, 20% consumption rule. And I try to follow this rule religiously. I know it's very hard nowadays. There's so much information. If you go on YouTube, especially if I'm posting on social media, it's very hard to keep your attention, right? But what you want to do is to consume only 20% of the time and take 80% of action. Now we are talking here about in the context of self-improvement and business information. If you are in academia and other related fields, I understand you have to probably learn more theoretical stuff that is not immediately applicable. So be ruthless with the inputs you take and also take notes. You want to take notes and deeply think about the things you have learned and then apply as fast as possible. Because it is the barrier of consuming and taking action that will determine your results. Now, when you make the shift from consumer to practitioner, the next level is to become a producer. And that's what I strive for. Because the most effective way to truly learn something is to first experience it deeply and then share it with someone or teach it. Now this depends on your stage on the journey, but I recommend everyone to publish stuff online. I highly encourage you to start something to document your process of learning. It could be something like me, a YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. You can start a blog, you can start a newsletter, and if you don't feel comfortable sharing stuff online, you can still create deep notes that you keep for yourself and document your experiences internally. Because in the long term, this is what will set you apart for years to come. This will compound. If you can share your experiences, if you can teach someone, or just keep it for yourself and deconstruct it, really think about deeply what you're learning, because this will truly set yourself up for long term. Sharing your experiences, teaching someone, helping other people achieve the things that they want, or just documenting your learning journey will completely transform your life over the years. Because most people, again, it's not judgmental, but it is the reality, don't take action. They are stuck in this cycle of constant self-improvement consumption and feel paralyzed when it comes to taking action. Now, talking about action, what will happen on this journey, even if you know which books to read, the 80-20 rule, if you apply this, there will still be times where you will face a lot of resistance. You'll have your goals, but you somehow can't achieve them. There's a hidden invincible barrier that is stopping you. And that has been the case for me in the past. So for that reason, I put together a very deep, tactical, strategic video that you want to watch next. It is about how you can change your internal self-image to produce the results that you want. Because most of the time we have the goals, We are on one foot on the gas and another foot on the brake, and that's why we sabotage ourselves. If you found this video valuable, let me know in the comment section below. Like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I see you in the next one.